Hello my angry nerds, this is Fanboy and welcome to your daily dose of StarCraft 2 Legacy of the Void and Ladder Edition. Today's game is going to be between CranK in the top right hand corner on Orbital Shipyards. He is our red Terran, and his opponent today is going to be NvDeth. Is our blue Terran. It is a ZVZ, or not ZVZ, what am I thinking? TvT. I just casted a ZVZ, and that's still stuck in my head for some odd strange reason. Today's game is going to be on Orbital Shipyard, as I just said, and it's also going to be a ladder game. CranK did send these games to me, and he played them on stream, I don't know, a couple weeks ago by now, and they're all mirror matchups. CranK does like to play random on ladder, and he also is a part of Axiom Esports. That's who he plays for. That's who he represents. And Axiom Esports, as you probably are well aware, is owned and operated by TotalBiscuit and his wife. Good people, great team. CranK has been one of my favorites since I started watching competitive esports, and especially competitive StarCraft. He was, if I remember correctly, was in Brood War. He was a professional in Brood War and transferred over to StarCraft 2 a couple of years ago. And it looks like Death does have a scouting SCV, and he's just kind of just walking around, just making sure there's nothing hanky going on. CranK does not go for a quick CC or a barracks expand, but it looks like CranK does have a Reaper out, and it's going to be Reapers from both players. How many Reapers will they go up to? I'm assuming 1 or 2. I wouldn't go very much farther than that. CranK, I did cast a game that CranK did go pretty much mass Reaper. He just flooded a bunch of Reapers and won the game. Let's see. You do have Death going for a CC on the back of this Reaper opening. It looks like Death does have 2 Reapers, and it looks like CranK, yes, he does have 2 Reapers out already. And will they be able to... Ooh, that's actually great timing from CranK. Does kill one of the Reapers for Death, and Death's Reaper is like, I'm getting out of here. I'm out. Peace. See you later. Have fun. But it looks like CranK is now just starting a CC. Much later from Death. I'm assuming Death has a... Oh no! He does not have a worker advantage. He has a 2 worker advantage. Technically 1 now. I mean, it's going to go back and forth 1 or 2 up until something actually happens. We do have a major attack going on in the front from CranK. 2 Hellions, 1... or... Did I just say 2 Hellions? Now it's 2 Hellions and 2 Reapers, but it looks like all Death has is 2... Oh my goodness, that Kitty 8 charge pulls or throws that Hellion and a Marine over the supply depot, and it looks like Death did hold that off. I mean, CranK did... Uh-oh, that's been spotted. A cloaked Banshee has been very much spotted from Death. Very good scan. CranK does throw down 2 more barracks, but it looks like that Banshee is well and true. I mean, he knows what's going on. Death does not have a... Oh yeah, he does. He does have an engineering bay, but he does not have any turrets up anywhere. So that may actually hurt him. But Death does know exactly where this Banshee is. Meanwhile, there are 2 Hellions in CranK's main. SCVs are being pulled off to chase these Hellions around. One Hellion does die automatically, but you need the cloak, buddy. You need the cloak. Oh, great scan by Death. Takes out that, I want to say Viking for some odd strange reason. It's not a Viking, it's a, Derpa. Oh my goodness. Why can't I use words? Hellbat. No, not Hellbat. Why am I saying Hellbat when I need to say something completely different? Cloak Banshee. There we go. I don't know why it took me so damn long to remember that. But a third CC is up for CranK. It's being built at the moment. Death's CC is now being turned into an orbital. I mean, Death has just been pretty much ahead of CranK this whole entire game, and that's never good. Death's own Banshee is on the way with Cloak, of course. There is a drop coming out from Death with 4 Hellions in it. This could do some major damage if CranK is not really prepared or aware of it. CranK does have a Viking, but it's landed at the moment. Will he be able to spot and stop this drop before it happens? I just don't think so. There are 2 supply depots making this area completely and utterly visible. It will see that medevac come in before it drops any Hellions, but here come the Hellions, and they're just going to roast SCVs all day, every day. That's a lot of SCV deaths. CranK does fly in his heavy artillery as a siege tank, but all the Hellions do die. But let's take a look at workers killed. Workers killed 18-2, and that's a Cloak Banshee. Cloak Banshee is here. CranK does have a Viking, but is it going to be in time? I just don't think so. Meanwhile, on the back of this, Death is expanding to a 3rd base. He has his 3rd CC. It's already an orbital, and he's making SCVs. I don't think how this is going to go very well. Death does need to pay attention, does need to target down that SCV that is making that turret. He pulls most of his workers just to get this missile turret up and running, and it's almost done. And it's done, but that Viking does take down that Cloak Banshee. And it looks like CranK's going to go all in and just decide to attack. He does have 3 siege tanks. 2 of them are already in siege mode. But he only has Marines, for the most part. Only has Marines. And it was spotted by Death by a single, very brave Marine. But, I mean, look at what's home. You have Hellions that can shred Marines like crazy. You even have a freaking Raven. And 2 Vikings. I mean, I just don't think that's going to happen. Oh, you have a Banshee back at CranK's base. And he's just raking in the kills. He's up to 6 now. I mean, if we look at workers killed, that's 33 workers compared to 2. I mean, he's just raking in the kills. And CranK just does say GG because he just doesn't have an answer. Workers at the time were 44 to 73. CranK just could not catch up. He was behind from pretty much the start, and he just couldn't catch up, so he decided just to call it quits before he could have gone for it, but I just don't see how he could have killed this whole entire army. These Hellbats, Hellions turned into Hellbats. There are 3 Marines back here, but I mean, that's a huge army to go up against just pure Marine and 3 siege tanks. How many siege tanks? 3 siege tanks. I mean, CranK did have an orbital, 3rd and 4th orbital. but he couldn't have kept up, and that Banshee was just sitting there raking in kills. It already had 7 kills. But I hope you guys enjoyed this game. If you did, please leave a thumbs up or a comment telling me what you guys want to see. Do you guys want to see more pro replays like this, or do you want to see more of like my pure ladder games that I take games like yours, basically subscriber games that people send me or I find, and I cast them and I throw them up on my channel. Let me know down in the comment section. If you want to see more StarCraft 2 from me, please hit that subscribe button, and that will help me out a ton. And I will see you guys in the next cast.